Everybody, and welcome to Ukraine Update here with the Shills. I had some dental work done, still recovering, not 100% there yet. So to make Nick very happy, I'm not going to say too much, but shout outs, and he's going to be your main host with our great panel today. There we go.
So I'm in bed, and I get a phone. Do you want to explain the pain in detail? I'm sure our audience would love.
They're feeling it as you talk, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah. The more I talk, they're like, "Can we get Dick back?" I'm in bed, and my producer Tim calls, and Tim's just like, "Nick, I've got a great opportunity for you. There's a show. They need someone to fill in, co-host just for one show." I was just like, "Oh, I'd love to." It's not the Shills, is it? It's like, no, I wouldn't put you back on the Shills after that banana thing with the hippo and things just got way out of control last time, and I would never ever do that to you. And I said, Tim, I know you, so I know you would do that to me. In fact, you've done that to me before. Just tell me it's not the Shills, and I'll be there. And he says, "Don't worry, it's not the Shills." Here I am. Oh, Dave's here. Okay, so all right. Anyways, so in all earnesty, I was really about to say that. Wow. I need to drink. I need to get a drinking problem because that's the only thing that could possibly excuse my lack of proper English diction. In all earnesty, I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you so much. So hopefully Starsky's going to show up. He's having technical problems. He's one of the very few people. He's out of Ukraine now. We've all spoken with him a lot while he was in Ukraine, and it's sort of, you feel kind of bad giving him a hard time. You're like, why aren't you connecting?
Yeah.
Oh, a rocket just blew in your window. So what? You can clean up the glass later. Just like connect.
Yeah. Just
unplug
it and plug it back in.
Yeah, just exactly. So you always have a hard time criticizing Ukrainians when they have a hard time connecting. Anyways, we'll see if we get Starsky and Greg hopefully will show up. But this is the Ukraine update, and a lot has been going on. And I think everybody here had said, and we've talked about this before, that there was a pregnant pause on everything on the planet before the U.S. elections, because they're like, these are two very different candidates. and they're going to affect everything for the next 4 years. We now know who it is. It's Trump. I have looked into it, and there are no other habitable planets in the galaxy that we know of. So unfortunately, we are stuck here with Trump for the next 4 years. So knowing that, Trump's advisor on Ukraine has said that, at least initially, he's going to pause the war, which, okay, I don't know that he gets to dictate that, but we'll see what happens. He's going to pause the war at wherever the zero line is across the country, and then get some kind of ceasefire agreement, and then work towards a deal. Let's discuss. First of all, I want to hear everybody's opinion on whether or not that's even possible. But second of all, based on that, Russia has done exactly what you'd expect, which is throw everything at moving that line further and further into Ukrainian territory as rapidly as possible. So if that's what happens, they get as much territory to negotiate with going forward. So just having sort of set the stage for everything, Slavie, what are your thoughts?
Well, this week was really interesting because we have Keith Kellogg that's going to be the envoy between United States and Ukraine. And there've been a lot of talks about his plan. And, it's going to be one of those things that Russia is going to get threatened with Ukraine getting all the aid unless they come to the table, and vice versa. So it's quite interesting what happened this week, because we have Zelensky did an interview this week pretty much saying that, Ukraine can negotiate and come to the table, full knowing that Russia will not come to the table. So I think not to lose the aid from United States is that's why he's doing it. So
how much confidence do you have in I think Kellogg is honest about that plan. I think that really is his plan.
Flake.
Come on, I try to be a professional.
I spent 20 minutes yesterday calling him cornflake. I just had to get one in.
Calling me cornflake or him?
No, him.
Yeah,
Kellogg. Cornflake.
Yeah, no, I do get it. You save the other names for me, and let's not. That's private anyway. So we'll
at least it's not Snowflake.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you think Trump would follow through with that plan, or are you confident that Trump would follow through with that plan? Is that something you're worried about?
I think so. Yeah, Trump wants to get something back into his investment in Ukraine, and Ukraine has trillions worth of natural resources that United States wants. That would much rather United States have it than Russia has their hands on it. So I think that's going to be an important factor in these kind of negotiations between Ukraine and United States.
There's something that I do on my show, and I do it reasonably frequently because I want to remind everybody, and I don't know how often Dick does it, but I think it's worth doing, because we have right here, and the Shills gets lots of really great guests, and people who know what the hell they're doing. Viper, Starsky, Greg, who's always right on that. But there's people who, this guy right here, and everyone calls him, Commander, but I don't know that they necessarily know what his experience is. So, Commander, could you really quickly, right before I ask you, I'm going to ask you the same question, but could you quickly run down your credentials and let us know what your background is?
No speaky English. Okay, I'm a retired
buddy,
commander with specialties in operational logistics and amphibious warfare. I was in the service for 25 years. I was the lead logistics planner for the buildup of forces preparatory to the invasion of Iraq. I'm a graduate of the Naval War College, the Joint Staff and Command College, and I'm was a fully accredited Joint Services Officer, which means technically I can work in, Air Force, Army, Marines, whatever. I have training to make me officially able to do so.
You can tell them all what to do.
Yeah.
And none of that successfully prepared you to be on the Shills.
Very true.
It's a unique experience all in and all of itself. All right. So once again, I'm having trouble with English. You make the joke. I'm actually having a difficult time speaking. Sentences seem to be eluding me today. What is it? Ending a
Sentencing
sentence.
is hard, is it?
Yeah. Ending a sentence with a preposition is something up with which I shall not play. At any rate, Commander, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump? Well, let's actually start back one question. Where is Ukraine today, right now?
They are being pushed fairly strongly in the center. The Russians are making significant gains. Some people have claimed that the gains that they're making in the center are equivalent to what they did in the first week of the war. That's total BS, but they are still significant gains, but they're coming at considerable cost. Up in the north, particularly in the Kharkov and the Kursk salient that they built, they're holding out quite well. The Russians are desperate to try to retake Kursk before any negotiations start, because that's effectively the sole bargaining chip Ukraine has right now for negotiations. So they're throwing troops at it constantly in ill-prepared assaults, and they're taking the predictable horrific casualties they are. I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday, but on that particular day, Russia suffered the largest number of casualties they've suffered in a single day for this entire year. So that tells you how badly things are going in terms of cost for them. But as we've mentioned before, Putin and the oligarchs don't give a damn about how many people die.
No, to them, it's like throwing popcorn into a fan, right? They don't care.
Oh, yeah. No, popcorn's edible, so it's useful. This is like throwing, I don't know, flour or talcum powder or something.
Toilet paper, because if you don't got a toilet, why have the paper? Right? Yeah.
So I think that what we're seeing is a huge push by both sides to either, in the case of the Russians, take more and retake what they've lost, and for the Ukrainians to hold on to everything that they still have. And the fighting's going to get pretty intense. We know that the release of ATACMS for deep strikes into Russia have had some fairly notable successes. One of the airfields that's near the front that they've been using to provide close air support for their forces got hit by several missiles, and there was significant damage. We know that at least one missile strike went and hit a headquarters that they had identified, which killed several senior people, including the senior-most North Korean officer who's in, or was at the time, in Russia.
Watching porn is my understanding.
Pardon?
Watching porn is my understanding.
Wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
That was a big story. The North Koreans basically have never seen pornography, and so now that they've got access to computers, they've been like instantly addicted, and that's all they're doing. This isn't a joke. This is a genuine problem for the. Hello, Sekai. How are you?
Of course, for the North Koreans, Baywatch would be pornography. So.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, the situation, I think, is what we're seeing, as I said, is everybody doing what they can to maximize their chances at a negotiation table. I think both sides realize that that's likely to happen. The problem is that I think suggests that it won't happen, regardless of how much pressure the incoming Trump administration tries to put on Ukraine, is that Russia just restated their demands, and effectively it's remove the current government, demobilize your military so you have no defenses, you can't join NATO, and we get full access to inspect everything in the country, which is a non-starter, let's be honest. So I don't see that they're going to be able to come to a point if that's the mentality that both sides are holding. I think in Zelensky's case, he's stated many times what he wants the end situation to be. And I think it's entirely reasonable. It's restore the borders to where they were, return all the kidnapped people, and pay reparations and so forth. But I don't see Putin being in a situation where he can do that.
He can't do that without coming down off the pedestal he's built for himself, right?
Exactly. He really needs to be able to hang that mission accomplished sign on the walls of the Kremlin. He has to have something that shows that all the cost that they've suffered was worth it. It doesn't matter if it's not really anything significant, but he needs to be able to make that claim. So okay. I think that's one of the things that's going on. I think
really quickly, I want to
look at the situation from the Russian economy standpoint. There's a lot of talk right now about how the ruble is effectively in free fall. The Russian domestic economy is on the verge of collapse if it hasn't already collapsed. They suspended trading on their commodities market. They have shut the banks down for a couple of days. So that gives you an idea of just how desperate situation is for them. I think if anything is likely to bring Putin down, it's that, because when the oligarchs look at all their wealth and suddenly find that they're no longer in the top 1%, because all of this has become valueless paper, that's when somebody starts looking around saying, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an open window nearby. And
yeah, exactly. But I would not put too much stock in that, because Putin's done a pretty good job of going around eliminating all potential rivals. And I think that's something that needs to be realized, is that he's done so effectively that all the others are cowed at this point, and they're terrified of doing anything that might displease him. So they're a bunch of bobbleheads going like this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Commander. And I hope my audio is good, because my headset was acting up earlier.
Hey, you're good.
Oh, perfect. But yeah, no, as far as internal Russian politics, I mean, we could. If it hasn't been obvious for the last few decades, it's all very rigged in such a way that you're not going to see something happen from the existing system from within, not unless you, at the exact same time as the war in Ukraine, have a war in Chechnya, you have a conflict or something happening in Dagestan, you have unrest in Republic of Georgia that grows into something more. It would have to be a million little fires in the different constituent republics of the what I call fake federation, because no one really gets along, in order for that kind of pressure to ramp up. And what could possibly create that? Well, major economic issues, but of the kind that we haven't seen for generations, of the kind that the whole world might feel reverberations across the global economy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think another thing that needs to be mentioned, because I think it shows just how bad the situation is becoming for the Russians, is the situation in Syria right now. Syria has always been one of the closest proxy state allies that the Russians have. And the rebels retook Aleppo in the past couple of days. And part of the reason behind that is the Russians are not able to provide the amount of support that they have in the past, because guess what? All the military strength that provided that support has been reallocated back to the Ukrainian front.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I know everyone has a renewed focus on Syria right now because, you know, it's not surprising in the slightest because I mean we literally it just kind of went from south to north to east, you know, starting with Gaza, then Lebanon, and now we're seeing war, you know, erupt again or renew a resurgence of it in Syria. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see a ceasefire collapse and a more direct war erupt again between Hezbollah and the IDF. The whole region is a tinderbox right now.
Yeah.
Well, they got a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah.
Yes,
That,
yeah.
What
Joe
he's
Biden-
saying is that he thinks that is not going to hold. If the pressures continue to mount
Yeah.
and new little brush fires keep popping up everywhere.
It's already there have been
Precisely.
violations already. It hasn't collapsed, but there have been accidental firings, inadvertent. You know,
To be honest, I'll be completely candid. It doesn't really have to last any longer than a month and a half because then it's going to be a particular orange fool's problem and make him look bad.
Yeah.
Well, people argue back and forth about that, but still.
well, I don't know how much Dick has to do with it, but okay.
We also have Turkey, the wild card that's been a wild card. They're
Like I
pissed.
said, Dick has nothing to do with it. Why are you bringing the turkey into this?
By the way, happy Thanksgiving to everyone that's in the United States. But
Yeah.
sorry,
You were saying
Turkey.
yeah,
Happy
Turkey. Well, and Turkey has already asked for exemptions from. Okay, so the U.S. has just done another round of sanctions. We've sanctioned the last remaining bank through which they were getting any hard currency. Turkey has requested an exemption. So has one other EU country, I forget which. Now, this is ostensibly because they need natural gas from Russia to make it through the winter. The idea ostensibly is without any hard currency, you're going to create a crash in Russia that along the lines of what Secular Sekai is talking about. A, is that final bank sufficient? And B, should any exemptions be allowed, or would that completely so far we've undermined all our own sanctions. I mean, there's always been enough exemptions that Russia's been able to continue to prosecute this war. So it's been half measures every time. Biden looks like he's sitting there going like, oh, wow, if we're going to stop this thing, I might actually have to get serious. So now, you know, with a month and a half left, he's ostensibly getting serious. Should the exemptions be allowed, and or does it matter either way?
Well, Nick, let me ask you this, and you know, I know a thing or two, but I do not in any way, shape, or form claim to be an economics expert. It's a very complex field, especially internationally. Like, for example, we've seen for years, and it's not just sanctions, it's supposed to be a full embargo of an isolated island country and the failure of being able to make the Cuban regime come to its knees just through economic measures, even really, really strict economic measures. And Russia has a lot more resources and friends to call on than Cuba. And they're not an isolated island nation. I mean, we've always talked about this, and it is horrible. It's morally abhorrent. I hate it. But I've been wondering, is it really just intentional to give Russia this false sense of overconfidence, like we can keep going, we can keep going, we can keep going. And that's what they're really relying on to tank the Russian economy, allow them just enough bypasses of sanctions to dig themselves a bigger hole. And that's something I've been thinking of.
I've definitely heard that one before.
The real question is, will it work?
Well, and it's got a reasonably short period of time if it's going to work. You know, I talk about the collapse of the Soviet Union, which I think was a number of factors, but one of the big ones was deliberate outproduction, forcing them to outproduce us and that was Reagan's plan to cause them to basically overheat their own economy and destroy themselves, and it appears to have worked. And it looks like that's what we're trying again. But it's not something that you can predict and say, oh, it's going to happen even to within a month or two. So I don't know what the likelihood is. I do want to get to. I know Dick has been getting up the super chats and everything. So I do want to get to that in a minute if Dick's ready. But before we do that, I do want to ask. We were talking earlier about Russia, and they want to have as much when they come to the table to, quote, negotiate. Now, it's clear we know what their negotiation position is. The commander was good enough to lay that out for us, and it's changed dramatically over the last 3 years. It's basically...
Yes?
Yeah. Well,
I want everything. Give it to me.
Exactly. That's their position, and it's going to change as much in the future, I suspect, as it has in the last 3 years. So, Trump strikes me as, well, we'll get into Trump in a minute. What I want to ask Slavie was, we've heard reports that there are Ukrainians who are saying, okay, we've really had enough of this war and would like to find a way out. We also know that there are Ukrainians who said, it's okay, if the war stops and they take away our weapons, we'll throw rocks. We'll grab sticks and we'll just keep, we will fight until it, because really, and Putin has made this crystal clear, he wants to end Ukraine. Ukraine just gone. That is his goal. So even a ceasefire, even a peace treaty, how many peace treaties has he violated already? It's not worth the paper it's written on. So in your view, what is there a divisive split in Ukrainians? Are people reaching a point of exhaustion? How would they feel if Zelensky actually did start talking about some kind of negotiation? Do you think that that's even remotely close to the minds of any Ukrainians, all Ukrainians? What are your thoughts on the move there for that?
I think most Ukrainians understand that it will have to come to a negotiation, but something else happened this week where Russia came out with a plan to divide Ukraine in 3 parts. And that, I know, terrified all Ukrainians. And so they're definitely not split, but eventually it will have to come to some sort of negotiation. Even if Ukraine wins, or when they win, it'll still be at the negotiating table, whether it's reparations or whatever else.
Well, Slavie, I kind of want to... Well, sorry, Nick, did you have something you wanted to expand on first?
I was about to ask you a question anyway, so...
Okay. Well, what I was going to ask is, I know on previous streams we've talked about, Ukraine joining NATO and the pros and cons of the way things are right now with occupied territories under enemy control. The pros and cons, positives and negatives of some kind of joining of NATO, if that could even happen, just the territory that's under Kiev's control right now, versus Finlandization of Ukraine, joining the EU, strengthening the economy, becoming a military powerhouse outside of NATO, like Finland did so many years ago before joining NATO. Do you think there's a messaging, a certain type of way Zelensky can present this, where it's, we're not giving up the territories, this is something that will come down to a historic moment in the future, but we are ramping down from the hot phase of this war? Do you think that there would be a way to get that messaging to the public and, create, unfortunately, create a situation where basically it's a Cold War buildup of forces on both sides? Ukraine would then seek to retake the territories in 1, 2, 3 decades, something like that?
There's a squeaking that you have, but
Yeah.
this week
It hurts. It's loud. It's hurting my ears, Sekai. When you talk, there's a sharp popping that keeps coming in, and it's quite loud. Just FYI.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My old headset broke, and I'm having to go to the store later today to get a new one. I'm on my backup headset.
I think you might have to tape the cable, try to keep it from moving, because it almost sounds like you're having some kind of bad connection thing.
Or just when you answer questions in the future, just oh, come on. Okay. Well, at least Dick laughed. Well, let's let Slavie answer because I wanted to.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Sekai will learn sign language quick. Okay.
Well, I think it kind of goes into the last, my last answer, and well, Zelensky said also this week that to get the territories back, we might have to negotiate that as well. It might not even be during the the kinetic war, but that kind of came with as long as we join NATO. So yeah, I'm not sure what from what the question that I got from you, because it was really squeaky, but I think I'll just end with that.
I'll try to be a little quicker with it while I've got a clear mic. Do you think that there's a way Zelensky can message we're not giving up on the territories, but it might take longer, 10, 20, 30 years with either negotiations or another war to get them back?
I don't think that's going to be a possible way to negotiate, because for Ukraine, it's very important we finish this war as soon as possible. So the 20, 30 years, our people are in the occupied territories, there's no way it's going to be dragged out for decades.
Right.
No way he could sell that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right, Dick, were there any? Did you want to like hit any super chats or anything like that, or did you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a couple I can do here. So let's
I
see.
mean, we can wait, but I enjoy seeing you in pain. So if it's something you could do now, I'd appreciate it.
Let's see here. So White Fishy One came in with a $25 Ko-Fi direct donation for Viper and the defense of Ukraine, Slava Ukraine. Hero Slava, and that'll go right into the fund. He's actually got a payment due to him right now, so I'll just add that on. We also had Dunk on You come in with a $20 Ko-Fi donation as well. Can't stay long, life gets in the way and all, but Slava Ukraine, Hero Slava, and that was $20 direct. Thank you so much. Then we got a couple of super chats here. Taste de la Kula Kuna. I think I got it right finally. FPDFO. I'm not that dyslexic. I can get this through. Tomorrow we'll have Ukraine charity event. Oh, we could send us in a link on our Discord and we can shout it out and stuff as well. Darren Vaughn in with a super chat. Slavie, yay. Oh shit, Nick's here too.
Wait. What was the name of that? Hold on, I want to find that. Hold on. Do I still have a wrench in here? Because if I do,
okay. While he plots revenge, I'll continue here. Petra Olsen came in with 129 Swedish kroner with love to Ukraine. We're gonna use that as the Petra sound now, I think, because I think that's more appropriate. We got Darren Vaughn in again. Isandering. Would elf or high elf?
oh, is a Xandering here? I try not to tell a Xandering when I come on this show because I don't want to get trolled.
So yeah, I think you were called an elf, and he was asking, "Are you a wood elf or a?" I was thinking more like a lawn gnome. We could call him Gnomeo.
Are you done? Are you
Not
done?
really.
Don't you have a show to like?
Al. Dunk on You 23 gave out 5 Shills memberships. So huge thanks there, Dunk on You 23. Thanks again. That's twice here. And They Exist came in with a big super chat here. Hey, any chance of getting Paul Wahlberg and Philip Ittner together on the show? Because I'll be watching for that. Well, I can get a hold of Phil anytime, and I'm pretty sure that we could pull Paul into things. I mean, that sounds like a good idea, actually. So I'll try to remember to make a note of this. PM me in the Discord as a reminder, because then it's where I can copy and paste it into the apps that keep me all organized. That would be really helpful. And They Exist came in with a second one here. So that's a double super chat in a row. So there should be some kind of extra alert for that. My last comment is blocked from a super chat. Read last comment for fun though. Last comment. Where? So hold on. Do I have to scroll back and try to find it or something? Oh man, there's so many. It is Russian mafia against democratic systems, and the average Russians are such stupid pigs that they easily become mercenaries in hope of money and rape windfalls and boasting with the other pig orcs. I think that's got to be the one, because I can see YouTube having a little issue there, but as you can see, we don't. So thank you very much. I need a minute now.
All right. Well, while we're at it, the other one thing I want to do, because you mentioned it earlier, so I'm gonna hit it again. As everybody knows, Viper the Sniper, 3 Mavic drones. These drones, they send out ahead, they do recon, they keep people alive. These drones are slightly different from the Boom Boom Fund. They don't go boom. But they have thermal imaging, and what they do is they go out ahead, they can see an ambush before they get into it, and they lost all 3. By the way, every time they lose one, if it hadn't been the drone, it would have been either a recon team or something else that they lost. So these are that's what they're there for. I'm going to drop a link. It's going to be from the In Time account. It's going to be it's the Ko-Fi Blonde Bombsheller. You can ask her. She's in the live chat right now about that fund. But I asked Dick earlier if I could shill that briefly when we're talking about it, and I appreciate it. And he mentioned the Viper, the Sniper, and he's been on here before. So that is one
and we'll
other.
Be soon again. Yeah.
Yep. So that's one other. And every time he's on, I keep trying to remind Dick, don't do the booms.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, he's got good at it, but it's like I send him messages. I'm like, when you have a frontline combat who's literally, and you can hear explosions in the background, and you're doing boom, 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 boom every time. I was like, could you not do that when you have him on as a guest? I'm just saying.
Well, I know, and I started programming some new sounds. So I was looking through my library, and I was like, oh, some cool laser hits. Nah, that's still too close. And so I did come up with a second tone bank of shout outs for when we have people that are a little too close to, right? And then what we'll do is we'll rename it instead of the Boom Boom Fund, because really the reason we kept calling it that is just because I started using that stupid explosion sound effect, right? The Boom Boom Fund is just whatever we're putting money towards, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a I'm sorry, Sekai, please.
No, but I need a second, so I'll bow out of this now. Yeah.
Okay. I actually had a topic, and again, I'm going to be fast, so my mic problems don't become an issue. Has anyone heard about updates on Project Kuiper and if it will be available in Ukraine, which is an alternative to Starlink, since, you know, everyone's favorite South African is now playing house in the White House? I've been curious about this just to know if there will be alternative low orbit systems for Ukrainian soldiers who rely on them for some of their operations.
I've never heard of this, so I'm going to opine like I'm an expert, because that's usually when I have no idea what I'm talking about. I would imagine any alternative is going to take a while. Starlink he worked his ass off to get that up and running as quickly as he did, and it still took a while. So I've never heard of this, so I have no idea, but I have a hard time imagining.
So this is from Bezos. This is Amazon.
Oh, nice.
And the early rollout is supposed to be 2025 for the next launches. Prototypes went out 2023, October 2023. So we may hear about it, assuming they don't end up behind schedule, but it's not in the news right this second.
Well, assuming that Trump doesn't do his buddy Musk a solid and suddenly put, 60% tariff on Amazon itself.
Yeah, I mean, Musk has become the Oval Office's golden toilet, so,
Yeah, I don't think that relationship's going to last long, but...
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Bezos needs to get closer to Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico.
What is it? You realize Trump has run on exactly the same platform that he did last time. He's like, last time it was, we're going to get a wall, we're going to build a wall, and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. Now he's like, we're going to tax the living daylights out of everybody, and we're going to get Mexico to pay the taxes. It's like, no, you're not. Mexico's not going to pay the tariffs. Do you understand? Putting a tariff on Mexico doesn't. Never mind.
Yeah.
We also
has
had a
no
Canadian.
freaking clue what a tariff is.
Yeah, I know.
We had Justin Trudeau actually flew to meet with Trump to, I think, explain to be like, what the hell are you doing? Because it's between Canada, Mexico, and United States. So
Yeah.
He now knows. You could tell when he figured it out, and when somebody finally sat him down and explained it to him. But the problem is he can't admit that he's wrong, and he can't change course. So what he's going to do is he's going to implement all the tariffs, and then a couple of days later, they're going to, not days, but pretty soon afterwards, he's going to say, "Oh, we got what we wanted." And then they're going to, which is what he did with China last time. I mean, we lost the trade war with China, but he did what a commander always talks about. He hung the mission accomplished flag. And since nobody's really paying attention to what he's doing, because nobody can understand it, but they're just like, "Oh, we won with China. Great. That's awesome. Good job. Well done. Thank you, Trump." And then, things went back to normal.
Yeah.
Trump is the epitome of, honestly, bread and circus, but transforming it into a perverted information, what's the word? Like rage politics in the White House.
And remember that every sitcom has to end with a happy ending. So that's why you get this mission accomplished nonsense. He can't admit that he didn't, because that doesn't fit the paradigm of everything's hunky-dory at the end of the episode.
When you say mission accomplished, does everybody here get the same mental picture I do with Bush on the carrier with the banner,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're seeing the continuation of uninformed populism have wreak its havoc on the American political system and the effect it has on Ukraine and every other country.
So I'm going to make a couple.
Again, I hope my mic is listening.
being Joe Rogan leading that pack of uninformed individuals. Can I say fuck you back, Joe Rogan?
Yeah, exactly.
Repeatedly.
No, allow me. Fuck Joe Rogan. Yes, we can all agree on that.
Here's the thing. My first experience with Joe Rogan was News Radio, which was an underrated, hilarious comedy show, and it had Phil Hartman. It had, and it was hilarious. And Joe Rogan was one of my favorite characters on it. I said, this guy's really hilarious. I thought that was it. I thought he was a comedian. I didn't realize people would take him seriously. And to see that same character, now it's just like, wow. To realize how much power he wields. It's just...
I remember when
Zelensky also was a comedian, but he's way more successful than Joe Rogan wishes to be ever. So,
yeah.
I remember when Rush Limbaugh was a big thing, and we were on a ship. Most of us had never even heard of him or something. And one of the officers' fathers sent him a videotape of a couple of Limbaugh episodes. And we watched it, and we thought it was the most hilarious comedy any of us had ever seen. And it was only later when we realized, with a mix of shock and horror, that no, it's real. How do people end up being that stupid?
Zelensky is probably the only entertainer, actor, former comedian who I can respect in the political sphere right now. I miss the days when it was just Ronald Reagan back in the day, because he wasn't out there. But now we've got Trump, we've got Linda McMahon, we've got who else is there that's been in infotainment and entertainment that's trying to run the United States? It's horrific.
Politics is devolving into entertainment.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just love the way Dick did that, though. He hit the right pitch too. The actor?
Yeah.
Perfect. That was perfect. That was Doc Brown perfectly. So,
Oh, hey. Oh, go ahead.
well, I'm going to slightly change topic. So if it's on the same topic, please. All right.
Well, my question was for Dick. It probably is a different topic.
Okay. Well, so here's my question. I'm going to make a couple of assumptions, and if anybody disagrees with any of these assumptions, you can let me know. But the first assumption is that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about Ukraine. The second assumption is he doesn't give a shit about any human life. That includes Russian or Ukrainian life,
Or his wife.
or his wife. So, given those two assumptions, and given that he is about to be asked to try to find a resolution to this, what are his goals? Now, obviously, in a general sense, one of them is going to be to come out looking like he just saved planet Earth and the universe, and all these other things. But okay, so how is he now? Is Russia going to offer him that? Is Zelensky? I've heard a few people say, "Listen, Zelensky's going to sit there and say." Zelensky appears actually to have figured him out, because Zelensky, in his last photo op with Trump, really was massaging his ego in a way that I'm sitting there going like, ooh, I think you may have figured this guy out. It's often hard for people of integrity, which I think Zelensky absolutely is, to understand and work with people who don't have any. But Zelensky appears to have figured it out. So, what is Trump going to be looking for out of this? And who is going to be able to provide it best, do you think? And I'm aware that even though this is a long shot prognostication, because we don't. But any thoughts, anybody who can provide him what he's looking for?
Oh man,
I was serious. I think one of the things he's looking for is personal enrichment. So whoever offers the biggest bribe probably gets preferential treatment.
Is Zelensky willing to do that? And if so, what does he have to offer?
I don't know.
Well, I said it before, natural
here's
resources,
another
trillions worth of them. I mean, it's very valuable for United States. And that's what Trump wants, is a return on his investment. I think that's going to be a huge, huge sell for Trump.
Yeah.
I feel like Ukraine's own resources would be part of it, but also you got to remember that would be Ukraine competing against Russia's natural resources. Even though their economy is doing bad, they still have things that they can trade. I think a big part of it would be which European and other international allies of Ukraine will work closely with Ukraine to broker kind of a three-way deal to give something from the rest of Western Europe that would be valuable to Trump in some way, shape, or form. I think that it's something that's going to require, I don't know who that might be, if it'd be France, if it'd be Germany, Brussels, but I think it's going to be Ukraine needing to do some sly and very wise political maneuvering throughout both the US and Europe.
I don't know whichever way anybody wants to try to spin it. There's absolutely zero glory in letting a country be genocided.
Oh, I agree. Exactly.
So I don't even know how people can even think that, if Russia can give him Trump this. No, well, he's going to get a genocided country. There's no glory in it. Nobody's going to glorify Trump if he lets Russia win.
Yeah. And anybody who does in any shape or form is clearly not human and therefore shouldn't be listened to.
The one thing that mitigates against that is the fact that he has so many pre-existing relationships with Russians, particularly Russian organized crime.
Oops. Yeah, particularly the dark side.
I mean, we got a video of Putin making a speech threatening Trump. Did you guys see that?
So I forget the amount, but he's received huge loans, quote, loans that he has not paid back. And I don't even think he's paying the interest on, from Deutsche Bank, which got that money from the Central Bank of Russia, which is Putin's personal piggy bank. So those can be called in at any time. He can also get more ostensibly. Now, that may be part of why they've now sanction the final bank and are trying to get rid of all the hard currency in Russia. And maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. But Putin is absolutely, and Putin, in my view, and I suspect Commander concurs with this, probably has compromat on him as it is. Whether or not he's afraid of it coming out or he's just going to say fake news, I don't know. But it seems to me that Putin is just going to say, how much money do you want? I'll solve all your financial problems. And Trump will find that appealing. Unfortunately, I don't think Trump cares at all about genocide. And while I agree that there's no glory in it, I think right now the U.S. has become so pro-Russia compared to what it was, say, 10 years ago, that he can sit there and say, no, there were actually really Nazis. I looked and there were Nazis in Ukraine, and Russia did a spectacular job, and MAGA will believe him. Whether it's not the reality, it's the perception that matters most.
Yeah. Well, and let's also caveat that with not the United States as a whole, but this cult that has a hold of the conservative movement. Let's be direct about that, because lots of Americans do support Ukraine, but that Trump, no, absolutely not.
Well, and
all right, I gotta get going, guys.
Please.
Oh, sorry, I gotta get going, guys. I'm gonna go get a new mic before I have to go to my next meeting, so I don't have this clicking problem again. Just a reminder to everyone, please call your representatives in support of Ukraine. Never do business with any company or entity or individual doing business with Russia. And let's do all that we can to assist Ukraine and undermine Russia.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me here.
Awesome, buddy. Talk to you soon, man.
All right. Talk to you. Bye.
All right.
Did you want to do a few more shout outs? Do you want me to I got a couple other things I could ask about?
I just have to check on a family matter, actually. I was hearing something and I want to make sure. So carry on, wayward son. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, so it does look to me like Zelensky's sort of figured out that that's the plan. Now, the reality is I think Ukraine, in so many ways, has more to offer the United States than Russia. And here's why. First of all, they can actually become a westernized country, and in the same way that Poland, their GDP went up tenfold when they became a westernized country, happiness index went up, life expectancy went up, everything went up when they became a westernized country, and they're now a strong ally. And Ukraine has that to offer. They don't have that to offer tomorrow. They could, Putin can offer $1 million tomorrow, but they have this very big long-term thing to offer us, to offer NATO, to being a long-term ally and a contributor to the world economy. They also have all of these natural resources. None of that helps Trump, really. Trump can sit there and say, this is what I got for the U.S. I got a good deal. But again, he doesn't actually care about getting good deals. He cares about being able to say he got a good deal. And from what I can tell, half the time when he says he got a good deal, we got completely hosed and people buy it anyway. So I don't know how convincing that is. So, but I do think Zelensky's figured that out. So the question is, how can Zelensky appeal to Trump's ego, and what can he sell him that's going to make him listen? And Zelensky's a smart guy and he's got a lot of very good advisors. So I have to believe there's something there. I'm just not sure what it is. I do like what's been said, which is what Sekai said, which is bring Europe into it. And if Europe says, hey, listen, we can find ways to X, Y, and Z. I mean, for me, I think if they could find a way to just fly Trump over to Russia and he can seek asylum from all his charges here in the U.S. and never go to a Western country ever again, I think everybody's happy. But certainly Melania, I talked to her yesterday and she said that was her favorite plan. So I don't know. Thoughts, anyone?
I keep hoping, and I think perhaps Trump would even prefer it this way, that the EU stands up and kind of takes lead on all this, because then he can kind of piggyback on any success and disavow any failure. And it fits in with his whole thing of, America retracting into making America great again, this whole isolationist view of the world kind of thing that his pack of followers believe in. So I think if that happened, if the EU kind of stood up and started taking a lead on making these negotiations happen in a realistic form, that would be all to the better.
So here's a question. A lot of Americans are saying, what's really the big deal in Ukraine? And I'm curious as to Europe's view of this. Does Europe really see Putin as the next Hitler, that after Ukraine he's going to go on and because he is following the playbook? I mean, this is Czechoslovakia all over again. I mean, this is literally that playbook. But the most people, I think, say that NATO is a hard line, and he's not going to cross that line. So he's not going to, it isn't going to be World War III. And there are people who say it is. Is Europe obviously has a bit more of a vested interest being right there than the U.S. in getting involved. How is Europe looking at this problem, and how seriously do they take the survival of Ukraine?
I think Europe sees it in a different context than the U.S. does. We have that, there's a giant ocean between us, so nothing will ever happen to us. That's their problem mentality. I think Europe looks at it and says, yeah, this is the same situation repeating itself again and again. And it helps, I think, that the Europeans tend to have a more cyclical view of history than America, having its linear view of we're all heading towards, the great city on the hill kind of thing. I agree that a lot of them probably see Zelensky as sort of Beneš in 1938 in Czechoslovakia. He was the president of Czechoslovakia in 38. Instead of backing down and giving in, he's standing up and saying, the hell with this. And the Europeans are saying, yeah, we agree and we're going to help you. The problem is, can Europe pick up the slack if America steps off that stage? And I don't think it can.
Right.
Slavie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I hope that Europe can pick up the slack, but I'm hearing a lot more that it's more likely that they cannot. Also, in terms of mostly Eastern European, I mean, we're seeing right now what's happening. I mean, Russia has their foot in the door into pretty much every government. And we see all these uprising against Russian kind of fueled governments. So I don't think the people will stand for Russia expanding, especially in the old former Soviet states.
There was a question, and it's for Commander. I'm going to take a brief stab at it, but really, Commander's the expert, but I'm going to take a stab at it anyway. And the question was, why can't the EU step up and help if the U.S. doesn't? And my initial answer would be because the U.S. spends more on military than every other country in the world combined. And we have a huge amount of surplus that we can just send over, and it really doesn't. In fact, it saves us money to send our surplus military over there. But if we spend more than every other than every other country combined, then it stands to reason that there isn't any other, that the EU combined isn't going to have the same kind of surplus that we. Is that reasonably correct, Commander? With thoughts on that?
Yeah, I very much agree with you. I think one of the things that needs to be understood, and a lot of people forget this, is the U.S. military is larger than the next 23 nations' largest militaries combined, and 21 of that 23 are our allies. So The reason I don't think EU can stand up and replace us is they simply don't have the economic and military depth to be able to do so. They can provide meaningful support, don't get me wrong, but the industrial or military industrial base doesn't really exist there yet. Now, I think the EU has started to realize the situation and are starting to change things on that. And there's a lot of retooling and building up capacity for military production and such, but they're not there yet. And so in the short term, I don't think they're a replacement if the U.S. walks off the Ukraine-Russian war stage.
To have, and I think I'm going to make this my last question, and then we may start to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Trump seems to have a very big. So, and I know it's a little bit of a non sequitur. Yeah, he is a big ass. There's a distinction between being one and having one, but he also does have one, doesn't he? Because I've seen him popping out of those. Oh, that's disgusting. Thank you, Dick, for putting that image in my head. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That made coming on the show so worth it. Oh wow, him golfing is like out of yeah. It's like
what about playing tennis and one of the boys pops out? Like that would just be the worst,
Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. It's really like you're gonna if you think about it while you're asleep, you're gonna have a heart attack. And
it would be like an even older man popping out of the shorts of a very old man.
So he's bragged a lot about there were no wars when he wrapped up all the U.S. wars, and he's isolationist. He is nationalist, so it makes some sense that this is reasonably important to him. But he really has taken it to the idea that too he's going to end this war and basically every other war. And I've heard that he's actually already essentially through back channels told both Ukraine and Russia that there will be no wars while he is president of the United States. That's just a fiat declaration that he's made, and he wants them to understand that. Why on earth is he so? I mean, I love the idea of no war, but I'm not sure that A, that's practical, and B, he's the first president that I've ever seen that has made that a point of pride. Why is that a point of pride for him? Do you think that there were no wars when I was president? There's going to be no wars. Well, I mean, what is that part of the strongman mentality? Actually, like as a mafioso, what's the thinking?
Yeah,
I think the real thinking there is that Make America Great Again is a parody version of America First, which was the isolationist mentality that existed between or even before World War I and definitely increased between World War I and II. And I think that's one of the key things that's at play here is he wants the U.S. to retract from being the global policeman. He wants to see all of that effort brought home to, I don't know, improve the economy.
Mexicans.
There are more consumers who will love him even more and vote him into, a third, fourth, and fifth
Caesar-like term
of office.
Oh, they're not going to have to vote again. Remember,
Exactly.
voting is over. He's just going to be
Yeah. Democracy dies until he does. That's a scary thought.
Yep.
I'm going to put in the Viper link one more time because I think someone asked for it. So the Ko-Fi link for Viper, that's the Blonde Bombshell, and that's
here. I'll catch us up on shout outs, and then we can do our roundtable wraps and stuff. So we got
just in case Slavie, I think maybe wanted to say something. So in case she wanted to say something, if not, then I wanted to make sure she got an opportunity.
Yeah, I've been wanting to kind of discuss this for the last 2 weeks, actually. And it's the meeting that happened between Biden and Trump. After all the dirt they've been throwing at each other, all of a sudden they met, happy, shaking hands. And I really think that, and the long-range strikes came right after that. So I think Biden met with Trump. Biden's like, I'm going to take the fall for it, but you're going to need this when, you're going into. So I really think that's what happened. And the plan has actually already started being executed of, making Russia lose. And it started from that meeting.
And somebody made an argument, and I think it's an interesting argument, that Trump is actually going into this term different than he did the last one. The last one, he was very embattled, very combative, felt that everybody was out to get him. And the position wasn't anything that he even remotely understood. He may not like what the ideal position is as president, but he's got some idea now of what the responsibilities are and what it entails. And he's going to ignore a lot of them, but at least he knows what they are. And he's got a lot more support, and he feels less embattled than he did last time. He feels like he's got a mandate. So the idea is that he may be more pliable and more amicable to working with people like Biden. And even the photo ops that he's taken with Biden, he used to like he would snarl to sort of indicate that I don't want to be with this guy. I don't want to. But now he's actually playing the political game a bit more, and he's smiling, and so I think that's a really interesting observation. I think that's what you're talking about. And Commander, do you have any thoughts on? Have you noticed that? Any thoughts on that? You think that's going to affect him at all in the second term, or?
Had to unmute. The phone rang, as you guys know, and in response to the phone ringing, you can hear the dogs howling in the background. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
It kind of looks like he's going into his second term a little different. He's actually experienced he's realized now that the presidency isn't what he thought it was. He thought it was just he gets to pretend. He thought it was like a ceremonial thing. He's realized now that it isn't. He's realized that it will give him some power that he can use. He's also realized that there's parts of the job that are always just going to suck. And he used to like snarl when he was taking photos with people that he was opposed to. And now he's like with Biden shaking hands, and he looks like he's less combative going into this presidency. Do you think he's a little more seasoned and will therefore be a little more willing to work with people and to actually get something positive done, or not?
I think yes, but not wholesale. I think you have to look at a very small change to his mental process. And to some extent, I think that's because he knows if he wants to transition from an actual, hereditary aristocracy or whatever it is that he thinks the world should be, I think that he realizes he needs to build up more public support to be able to do it. Right now, his margin of victory, if you will, is pretty small. And he wants to have something significantly larger, knows he needs that kind of support to be able to pull off the "you'll never need to vote again" mentality. I think that's part of what's at play.
And I see that Greg Terry has showed up, so thank you all. It's been a great show. We're gonna head off now, and
we are unfortunately just getting ready for wraps. Greg, shorter show today. I'm recovering from a dental thing, and it's just one of those days. But how's it going your way, Greg?
Busy, very busy. No, actually, guys, your show has been fantastic. I've actually been watching it all. I'm driving. I got some key guys of mine that are in the hospital, and I've been taking care of them. I actually posted a picture in Discord last night, a little video, and so many people were so kind to wish well wishes. American veteran, Vietnam vet, who is a major supporter of mine and our work in Ukraine. So I went by and saw him. Now I got another buddy in the hospital. All my buddies are old and in the hospital. What does that tell you? I'm getting old.
I feel it as well, very much.
But in all seriousness, it's really, really been a good show. Nick, you've done a good job. Commander McMillan, Slavie. I was listening to Sekai in here earlier. I just want to say one thing, and I know we're wrapping out, and this will be my wrap out, but I didn't want to not come in. So I was been listening to the whole program. I will just tell you this. I agree with 90% of everything that you guys are saying. And I just think there's some irons in the fire that need to be paid attention to now that will affect everything. So we have, as you guys have already been discussing, Georgia just receiving the news from the United States within the last hour or so that they are going to be on the outs with America because they are choosing to go a different direction currently. So you've got to throw that in the fire. That's an eye poke into Putin's eyeball. In addition to that, I'm really I've done this. I did this earlier with Israel and Hezbollah and Hamas because 80% of the weapons supplied to Hezbollah come from Russia. It's a proven fact. But now with Syria, guys, you have to understand there's 120 installations inside Syria, 86 of which are military installations that are Russian. And Russia has been conducting airstrikes inside Syria over the last 24 hours. And they just changed their military leadership in Syria. So you have a proxy war here. You've got, once again, the same lines divided, and I'm going to draw a positive spin on this for Ukraine in just one moment, but we have the lines drawn once again with a division in our world between the West, the United States, Europe, and I hate to always say that because there's so many wonderful supporters, supporting nations and people from Australia, New Zealand, and all. I just always hate to say the West and Europe because it's not fair. So when I say that, that's everybody standing for what is right. How about that? And that division is growing stronger. So, you know what? I actually see positives in the action in Syria right now for Ukraine in the long run. I probably will have another video coming out in a couple of hours if I make it back home. Russia now putting in their news headlines everywhere, throwing blame on Ukrainian commanders for what is happening in Syria, who have been training the extremists. I mean, it's everywhere in the Russian news. So everything is starting to be spun. So I'll translate it from Russian into English. What we have is really a big story developing that can positively affect Ukraine because Russia is so entrenched in Syria, so entrenched in the activities they're doing in Africa and these former Soviet satellite nations. You know, if this is why Kim Jong-un came out yesterday. This is why the defense, I can't remember his name, just left Kim Jong-un 2 days ago. Kim Jong-un, I was on it this morning, Kim Jong-un saying, we are 100% committed to the Russian war effort against Ukraine. Why? Because, of course, Putin sees the writing on the wall that his war machine is being fractured and being pulled in so many directions. And if we are smart enough to identify that, then I'm sure the American government and others and the European government and Israel, et cetera, are smart enough to recognize that. And we can potentially have Russia on the ropes right now. So now is not actually, in my humble opinion, spending so much time in Ukraine and all these nations. I work in Lebanon, I work in Israel, I work in Africa, Pakistan, all these crazy nations. I work.
Oh, we're kind of Greg, we're kind of losing you now. You're roboting out to insanity here. I think you got some pretty weak signal for a sec.
So let me say this. He said he's dropping a video.
Oh, he's coming back. Here we go.
He said he's dropping a video, and I'll say
Now
this.
is the time.
I'd rather he's not dropping a video. Oh yeah, sorry.
He's back.
Now is the time to put down the gas. That's what I'm saying. Put the gas down. Russia is fragmented. They are having a war on multiple fronts, one of which is Ukraine, Kursk in their own backyard, Syria. They're going to have to deal with Georgia. They're messing around in Africa. Put the hammer down on them.
They're overextended, basically.
Exactly, Commander. Now's the chance.
Yep, totally agree.
Bundy has
Thank
just
you.
dropped
I got
the
the commander
link up
to
above.
agree.
He dropped the link above for both his the Greg Terry Experience website and for his YouTube channel. I will say this: I really don't like it when he says he's dropping a video, because he says that about 16 times a day. It would save us all a lot of it would save us a lot of effort if he just said in the next 5 minutes I won't be dropping a video, because he drops like 3 or 4 a day, but they're short. And he just gets right to the points, and it keeps you up to date. It's really it's a great program.
For every 2 hours that Rick Ukrainian does a live stream, Greg puts out a video. So that's kind of the ratio on how it works.
Yeah.
With all thank you, Nick and Dick. But Nick and Dick, I need a song in the future. Listen. In all seriousness, I'm so proud, as Starsky said last Saturday, of all of us standing firm, working together. You mentioned Rick right there. Rick has his niche, man, where he is pounding so much support for Ukraine and dealing with the culture and the music. I mean, everybody has their role, and we are a huge team. And if we don't watch out, we're going to become a family. And my God, what will happen at turkey dinner if we're all a family? But I want to close with this. I should have a live coming. I hope to pull it off tomorrow. I'm waiting for Jana to be with me. Unfortunately, the power situation right now inside Ukraine is critical. Yesterday, Kyiv had power for 1 hour. 1 hour.
Wow.
And 1 hour. That's not an exaggeration. That's direct from Kyiv's citizens who were living it. Now, I know the military headquarters, they're running on generators and they got backup systems and all of that, and the government, of course. But Kyiv, millions and millions of people. And I asked, is that everywhere? He goes, Greg, it's everywhere. Rivne, Ternopil, Khmelnytsky, in and out of power, frontline cities. Dnipro was just hit. We've had people lost. So as I'm giving my closing, and I appreciate you guys so much. Today's show was powerful and a lot of very, very good information. But for me, as I close that, let's just remember our dear Ukrainian brothers and sisters. It's cold, it's wet, and it's tough. We stand with them. Do peremoga.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you. And I didn't want to be derelict in joining, so I'm sorry I was unable only this time. It's just schedule's crazy. Next weekend I'm in Nevada. And then a couple weeks after that I'm back in Ukraine. So
just one thought. If you put out less than 32 hours worth of video in a day, that might make your schedule just be a little bit better. Just a thought. Just a thought. It's not a criticism.
I love you.
Let me get some shout outs in quick, and then we'll finish our wrap up stuff. So we've got Paul Gilbert in for Viper, and that was a $25 direct donation through Buy Me a Ko-Fi, not Buy Me a Coffee. It's so Jesus Christ, there's more drinks that are hot than coffee. Come on, people, let's do better. Not you people, but the services, right? I mean, come on, let's have an original idea here. We've got a sell in with a super chat here. Commander, will the troubles in Georgia and Syria affect Russia's ability to prosecute the war in Ukraine?
I think so. They're a distraction. The Russians, well, not Russians, but Putin is forced into a situation where he has to make a choice between, do I deal with the situation with Ukraine, or do I deal with the global situation of, the Russian Empire? He doesn't have the assets to effectively do both. So he's got to make a choice. And I suspect the situation in Ukraine is far more important to him right now. So yeah, I see them potentially not doing as much or anything near as effective with Syria, Georgia, wherever.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to do stuff. I'm not saying it's going to stop. I'm just saying the level of support will go down, which gives the opposition an opportunity to, emerge superior.
Right. Couple last ones here. Chuck your merits in the chat there for the Boom Boom Fund. Hope my super chat is working. That one did get through. Some people were saying, "Hey, did you guys turn off the lower tier super chats and stuff?" We didn't change anything. I just think there's some server issues in the background. But big thanks there, Chuck. Darren Vaughn in the chat. Okay. He says, "I was trolling Isandering on that last post of mine. Dumb name." Well,
it is I sand ring.
I don't usually get it right, and Greg did it. Greg is correct.
Yeah.
Oh, Dick, but I'm getting ready to go down into a mountainous ravine, and I will lose you. So I don't want to just disappear.
Okay, buddy.
I love you guys. We'll see you on the next Shills from Nevada. And Commander, thank you. Slavie, thank you. All the Shillites out there and all the supporters of Ukraine and all things good in the world. Keep your eyes open, your hearts open, and let's keep the hammer down. The best is yet to come. Dick, love you, brother. And
You
Nick,
too, buddy.
you too. You guys have a great evening.
Awesome, Greg. Talk to you soon, brother. Take care, man.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So, a couple last ones here. We've got Spider Fate came in and gifted out a super chat there. So that's awesome. Thank you very much, Spider Fate. And I think I'm actually caught up. Now, the whole PayPal thing is running really slow in the background. So there could be something that comes in that just kind of like during credits or something. I can only do what I get told, right? So, but yes, I will let you guys finish up here, and then we'll,
Any final words, Lance? Sorry, Commander.
Not really. The usual. Please continue to communicate with and pressure your elected officials to maintain or increase levels of support to Ukraine. I think we're all just waiting to see what is going to really happen in January when the transition occurs. I think we're looking at all this lead up, which is, as somebody mentioned earlier, the polite, handshakes in the Oval Office kind of thing. Everybody's trying to look like they're calm and collected and nothing's untoward going on. I don't think we're going to know what's really going to happen until after January 20th.
Yeah.
Bobby, any final thoughts? Where can people find you?
I actually want people to pay attention to what's happening in Romania now. In the first elections, they got a pro-Russian guy that just came out of nowhere. And it's very, very bad. His campaigns were on TikTok, and of course, Russia has played their hand in it. Romania is very, very important for Ukraine. Very. So it would be extremely bad if this guy is going to be a president of Romania. So it's something to pay very close attention to. On that note, check out my latest video on my channel. I hope you guys like it. It's completely revamped, and let me know your thoughts on it. Keep supporting Ukraine, keep sharing Ukrainian stories, and of course, Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava. Good one. So what do you think there, Nick?
My name is Nick Suter. I am the host and executive producer of In Time. A little background thing there. We're a news program. Commander McMillan joins us quite frequently as well. And Dick asked me to help out today because he's had his teeth done. And I have co-hosted the Shills on more than one occasion. And despite what I publicly say, I enjoy doing it. Dick and I have known each other probably actually like 5 or 6 years. For the first couple of years, it was, we even shared a Bull, the producer. And so we've known each other for a little while, and it's always a delight to come on. So I appreciate the offer, and anyone who wants to check out or my news show, it's youtube.com/InTimeShow, and I'm sure somebody will drop the link. But thank you very much for the opportunity to come on and help you out. I always enjoy it.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for doing it as well. Because as I said in the beginning, the dentist he can be an evil SOB, and he did one on me, and I'm not fully healed yet, but it's good to have it done because I will be healed soon. And being a podcaster with any sort of pain around here sucks. I can tell
your
you.
description in the green room of him taking pliers and putting his foot on your chest as he's trying to pull the tooth out made this. It was at that moment that I was like, I made a wise decision reshuffling my schedule here today. I'm just been paid in spades.
Oh yeah, it was when he was done. He was like, dude, make sure you have bottles of these painkillers ready because you are going to feel this like nobody's felt. Like, because I was just like, dude, I can take it. Keep going. And he's like, yeah, but what you're going to, anyway, I just, okay. So first off, huge thanks to the team. So Shane is running the Shills account today. Huge thanks. PJ CNET, our news research team leader, there's in the chat today with us as well. Big thanks, PJ. We got Liam Wakefield, Chris Lundy, and Super Chat Matt as well. And you can't do any kind of show on YouTube in any even remotely professional way without a good team. We have one of the best teams. So give them a big shout there, everybody. Hooray for the mod team because, wow, do they make this, a lot easier to do. We'd be screwed otherwise. There's no way you can keep track of it all on your own. Everybody just got an arrogant asshole. Well, they do that anyway, but and thanks to all the viewers and especially the supporters of Ukraine. It's so important to keep their plight in the front of your mind, keep it in the front of others by sharing out the news articles, the channels that support Ukraine. I mean, it's not always about money just out of your pocket, but if you can get other people watching and then other people are donating as well, you can very much help in that regard too. So it takes us all. So let's see if we can't help them as best we can. And, maybe in the end, Ukraine will hopefully, possibly, this will end the way Ukraine wants it to and not the way others seem to think. So once again, thanks everybody. And we'll see you very soon with another show. I'm off for painkillers and I'm going to relax some. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And thanks to the panel as well. Because without you guys, I would have just been an idiot who can't talk very much, and that would have sucked. Take care out there. Slava Ukraine.
Героям слава.
It's over. Go home. Go.